Go for it.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neville B. Morris, and you heard we'll be taking you through recovering the art of resilience. Let's go for a ride. Okay, it's not advancing now. Okay, all right. What we'll be talking about today, trauma and resilience, the role that we play in the process. I'll be covering quite a bit of that piece. From life with a central purpose, what does that has to do with our trauma? Communication between ourselves and what's happening in the outside world. How consistent we are in terms of checking with ourselves for consistency. Guiding the giant within, as in the subconscious mind, knowing the rules. The synchronization of the process and alignment towards resilience. Harnessing the power within and breaking some of our own bad cycles. We're looking to have some fun in the process, and yes, do expect unfinished business. Okay, my advance button for some reason is not advancing. Okay, you want the space bar? I give you the space bar. So trauma, what is trauma? As defined by Wikipedia, it's an overwhelming amount of stress. Okay, Okay, I'm having some technical challenges here. Hold on. Okay, that exceeds one's ability to cope or integrate with the emotions involved with that experience. That's what Wikipedia says. What is psychological trauma? It is damage to the mind that occurs as a result of a distressing event. Transformation, ladies and gentlemen, varies from mild to severe. It's a derailing forced eviction to another time and space. One man's trauma could be merely an event for another. Am I saying your trauma is big, mediocre, or small? No, not going there. But I'll share with you one of my earliest trauma as a child. It's not a big one, but here it goes. I loved chicken. And when I come home from school, there is chicken. Chicken spiced in so many different ways. Okay, I've been enjoying chicken, not knowing where it came from. My life changed. I had to be in the country for 2 years. By the way, 2 of the best years of my life. And things were different there. I don't just come home and there's chicken on the table. In the country, they grow their own chicken. And here comes my traumatic experience now. They would eat the roosters. Why? They didn't need more than one rooster to take care of the business on the farm. And so I watched them catch one of the roosters. These are people that are in my family that I know and love, about to do the most cruel, wicked act known to mankind as far as I was concerned as a child. They caught the chicken, put the chicken under a pail. The chicken is screaming for its life. Out comes the axe and whack! The head is gone, blood is all over the place, and the chicken is crying. Trauma, ladies and gentlemen. Here is this child looking at this evil, wicked act performed by the people that I love. I watched them put hot water on this chicken, take the feathers off, cut it open, gut it. Eventually, it ended up on the dining table. I'm surprised that I still eat chicken. But that was a traumatic event for me. Resilience, we'll get back to that. Resilience is the ability to recover, to bounce back, to cope from a traumatic event, hopefully taking us to that pre-traumatic stage. I've seen what hurricanes do to coconut trees or palm trees. If you look at the top right there, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see a normal coconut tree. After the hurricane, it doesn't necessarily bounce back to where it was. It looks more like the one in the middle. And for some, bouncing back could be so horrible, it looks more like the one at the end. What is trauma? What is it to be bouncing back from a traumatic experience? We want to go back when we end up in places like that. When we get there, it's not real. We go through the different stages of grief and denial. How did I get here? What is trauma? So trauma is the event our interpretation of the event, our reaction to the event. So there are quite a few more pieces to this bad boy. And on our way back, will there be help along the way? So this is where we talk about the resilience preparation. How prepared are you going into the trauma? Do you need to be prepared? What is your resilience factor? How will you react? Easy to ask the questions. When we ask the resilience questions about crossing the bridge, whatever that bridge is, for some people, it's an easy answer. If I get to that bridge, I will cross the bridge. For others, oh no, not in 100 years, I'll never cross the bridge. And for some people, it depends. It depends on how I feel at the time. Then I'll decide if I cross the bridge. Whether you will cross the bridge, not cross the bridge, decide which way to go on the bridge, the bottom line is still the same. We want to be on the right side of what's going on. It is our job to stack the deck in our favor, or we could just let the chips fall where they may. Do we have to be prepared going into a traumatic experience, ladies and gentlemen? The answer is no. We don't have to be prepared, however, it helps if we're prepared. If you look at the folks in Texas wearing their cowboy boots, some do it for style and some do it for function. Snakes happen to bite at the ankles. For those of us who are wearing cowboy boots, we're protected from the bite of the snake. Trauma. How prepared are you going into traumatic situations? So the road through a traumatic situation is, like the Beatles say, long and winding. There is before the event, there's during the event, and then there's after the event. Before the event, did you know how to follow the North Star? Mr. Morris, I don't need a North Star. I have what is called a cell phone, smartphone. It has a GPS. I don't need to learn all that stuff. That's for people back in time. Is it so? What happens if your phone runs out of battery? Can you handle it? Do you know how to drive, how to do CPR, how to swim, how to hike? Do you have any callus on your feet? Do you know how to walk through different terrains? When do you learn these things in your preparation for dealing with trauma, ladies and gentlemen? When? You could learn some of it before, or you could wait until you get into the situation, then you learn. While we are in it, there's 1,001 paths on the way back. What worked for you won't necessarily work for me. However, and on our way back, and even after we get back, even if we don't get back the same way in which we left, what are the coping skills you have to work with? How will you deal with that? How flexible are you and how rigid are you? Okay. Okay, I'm losing my mouse again. Okay, so help on the way back. Where does your help come from? I remember my mom used to say, I lift mine eyes unto the hills from whenceforth cometh my help. Where does your help come from? If you happen to end up in a serious traumatic situation, where does your help come from? Do you have family, friends? Hey, there's NYAPRS. What do you have? Do you have therapy, doctors, medication on your work? Where does your help come from? Sometimes the help is enabling, and sometimes the help that we get is disabling. If you're in a hole, it might make sense to dig deeper. Maybe you might find a tunnel somewhere. But sometimes we're in a hole, and for some way we come up with this thought that digging more and getting deeper into the hole might help as a coping method. Easier said than done. However, so many people, as they get themselves into some major trauma stuff, they adapt a disabling coping strategy that make things worse. Am I saying you should or you shouldn't? No. All I'm saying is you need to check yourself. Check yourself to make sure that the things that you're doing are working preferably for your long-term interests and not those of someone who's looking to take advantage of you. So we say before you go looking for help, It would be nice if you had a word with the person in the mirror so that you could work together. You could be your own best friend, and you could also be your own worst enemy. With trauma, ladies and gentlemen, most of the times we have little control over the event. Yes, we can prepare, but for the most part, we don't have much control over the event. And in the end, it's more about how are we going to manage this thing as we go along. Okay. So trauma, it's not welcoming. It's a part of the earthly pilgrimage that we call life. To some of us, it can be a most transforming experience as it spirals out of control. For some of us going through the exact same thing, it's only a teaching moment. Do we get a choice? Not exactly. And the desire for more teaching moments over spiraling moments, yes. If we had a choice between having this event becoming a teaching moment or a horrible, devastating, spiraling moment, the majority of us will take a teaching moment any day and twice on some days. To be or not to be. If the same event that led to a major psychological trauma for Jack was only a horrible situation for Jill, was the event traumatic? I'll ask again. If the same event that led to a major psychological trauma for Jack, and it was only a horrible event for Jill, was the event traumatic? It depends on who you ask. If you ask Jack, beyond the shadow of a doubt, Jack will tell you, yes, it was traumatic. If you ask Jill, she says, no, it was a horrible event. So that leads to the question then. There has to be more to this equation. We have little or no control over the event. So here it is, Jack is crying for days because he has psychological trauma, while Jill is only angry for days. Jack's focus is on blame, revenge, and how unfair the whole process is, while Jill is running interference, and she's blocking, and she's picking up the pieces, and so on. I remember when I worked in the garment district, there was a major downturn in the stock market. And we heard a story about a man who had, I think he had like, don't quote me on the numbers, but he had like $52 million in his portfolio. The stock market had a major downturn, and his 52 million, he just watched it just dwindle down in less than a week to 38 million. He jumped through the window. What is trauma, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, by the way, 2-3 weeks later, the majority of what he lost came back, but he was in a whole different place. What is trauma? So I walk with this gentleman, we call him AO, and we try to solve the problems of the world. I call him an old man, but he slows down on the walk so that I can keep up with him. And his thing is, what he calls the AO factor is the things that drive how we manage trauma is the bottom three that we have there, from the chest to the cradle, mama's milk, and grandma's guidance. He talks about, as a baby, were you in what he calls, in a crib, he calls that isolation. Were you isolated in a crib, or were you on mama's chest where you could hear her heartbeat and all of that? He talks about milk. Were you getting mama's milk, or were you getting the milk of a cow? He talks about guidance, grandma. Were you getting guidance from grandma and grandpa? There's my cute grandma at the bottom there. Were you getting guidance from grandma and grandpa? Something happened down there in that childhood phase, ladies and gentlemen, that caused us to learn how to manage trauma. I often ask, why is it that they don't teach us these things in school, how to manage trauma? So here it is, Captain Jill. She looks at the world very different when traumatic experiences come. And here it is, we have Jack, who looks at the world in a completely different way when trauma comes. Jack will be willing to run and scream. Jill will be quicker to evaluate the situation look at the pros and the cons, choose, and then react. So let's talk about our first major fall from the horse of life. Our first major traumatic event. Again, major is relative to us all. Most of us know what to do. We get up, we brush off, and we ride again. Why? Is this recovery tool in your toolbox, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, you need to take your sweet tail up, brush yourself off, and get back on that horse and ride again. Do you have to do this? No, you don't have to. But if you don't, quite a few things might happen. It could be the last ride you ever have on a horse. It has happened to many. First time they fall off, they didn't get up and go back on, and that's the last time they went riding on a horse. So then who or what is in control? We have a 5-year-old child within us, ladies and gentlemen. It's called the subconscious mind. Some call it the id, the ego, the inner God. There's so many words that we use for this other companion that's within us. There is a child within us that plays a major role in our life, and many of us would prefer to think that we are the ones in control. But when traumatic events like these happen, that's when that child kicks in. That's when you know the reality of that 5-year-old that's within us. So here it is, you fall off the horse. Be it you or the child, this could be your new mission in life, not to ride horses again. Overnight, traumatic experiences have a way to foster a brand new constitution for you. So new that it would take an act of Congress to change. My own family member went through an experience where the barricades for the train would come down. This barricade was malfunctioning. However, they happened to be behind it, in a safe area. The train went by. From that day to day, this family member of mine has not crossed that railroad anymore. There's another option further up, but that's what happens when that 5-year-old takes over. I know someone who was in an elevator got stuck for 2 minutes. That was it. That person has never been in an elevator since. It doesn't matter if it's 6 floors, 10 floors, or 30 floors. I work with someone who has some height issues, went on vacation with their family, decided to confront it, and they got on the bridge. That picture below you there is what they say one of the longest glass bridges. Got on the bridge, was doing fine, and then the 5-year-old took over. On the butt. That person was on their butt crawling off the bridge for the rest. No matter what you say or do, that was how they were going to cross that bridge. What's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Trauma has a way of converting our situation to a brand new constitution that it would take an act of Congress to change it. Bob Trout talks about, the elephant and the rider. He sees that subconscious mind as the elephant, us, our conscious mind, as the rider. And what I like what he says is, if there's a disagreement between the rider and the elephant, trust me, the 6-ton elephant will be the one who's winning. Yes, you may guide it for a little time, but in the end, it's the elephant that's gonna be carrying the day. Give you an idea of how the elephant runs things here is New Year's resolution. So many of us come up with these beautiful New Year's resolution. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna start 3 days a week. I'm gonna do all these things. Ladies and gentlemen, if you, the conscious rider, is not in tune with the elephant who is really the one in charge, if the two of you are not in alignment, how long you think that effort at the gym is gonna last? No, it won't be too long. Moving on. If we do not choose the way our beliefs are stored, then the autopilot process will provide one for us. What we hold as truths aren't necessarily so. However, they are the rudders that steer our ships through the emotional oceans of life. Neville B., I'll repeat. If we do not choose the way our beliefs are stored, then the autopilot process will provide one for us. What we hold as truths aren't necessarily so. However, they are the rudders that steer our ships through the emotional oceans of life. What is adversity, or when adversity strikes? We have two extreme approaches. We have the Chicken Little approach, as you see in the top far right, scream and run. It's not if adversity is coming, it will come. It's a part of this earthly pilgrimage of ours. The words that leave our mouth after a stressful or low traumatic event is a strong indicator of where you are on the spectrum of responding to stress. Yes, what words leave your mouth? Some people, they cover them out. Oh my God. If your response is more along the side of, oh my God, the sky is falling, world is coming to an end, wolf, wolf. If that's your approach to when trauma or adversity strikes, that is one approach. The other approach is that of Captain Jill. When trauma strikes, instead of screaming and running and carrying on, Captain Jill look at this big thing coming towards it. Oh, what's that? Oh, I see two things dangling between the legs. It is big and strong. I am little and weak. It is clumsy. However, I am fast. So if I could go around there, pull this and do that, I should be able to take on this beast. That's a whole different approach. Easier said than done. But like anything else, either you're practicing towards a Chicken Little approach, scream and run, or you're practicing towards Captain Jill's approach, where is stop, look, evaluate, and you have two completely different outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying here, we need to check ourselves. Where are we on this continuous spectrum? We're somewhere in between those two extremes. You could stay where you are, or you could work towards stepping it up to the next level. So how will you respond? The question of self that you ask, is it empowering or is it disempowering? If you ask questions like, dear God, why me? Why? Those are disempowering questions. I don't know which God you worship, but whether your God answers you or does not answer you, I know one person who's going to answer you, and that's your number one critic. Who is that? No, it's not your mother. It's not your father. Who is your number one critic? It is you. You are your biggest critic, and you could be your best friend, and you could also be your worst enemy. So whether God answers you or not, you ask disempowering questions, you're going to get disempowering answers. Likewise, what do you think Captain Jill will be asking? Captain Jill isn't going for no disempowering questions. She's going for empowering questions. Captain Jill will be saying, what can I learn from this event? There is a lesson here for me to learn, and so on. Two completely different approaches to the exact same event. If you plant peas, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot be expecting to reap corn. It doesn't work that way. It does not. Am I telling you what you already know? Yes. But I'll say it again. If you're asking this empowering question of the 5-year-old child within you, you're going to get disempowering answers. That's not going to be helping you in dealing with what's in front of you. It's a tool for your toolbox, ladies and gentlemen. What is the self-talk that you have to that subconscious mind of yours? That 5-year-old child of yours, the one that really runs things, whereas you think that you are the one in charge. No, you're not. How does that 5-year-old get his instructions? Through you. Through you, through your conversations. Say, for example, people who talk like that up there, oh, it kills me when, Neville, when I say it kills me, you know what I mean. I might know what you mean. What about the 5-year-old inside of you? The subconscious mind, ladies and gentlemen, has no sense of humor. It takes your words literal. And if you are saying something kills you when, it doesn't matter what else comes after that. The bottom line is the same. That 5-year-old within you will be trying to kill you, your host. The 5-year-old now becomes a parasite because it's now working against you. You two need to be in sync. My parents used to talk about when adversity comes, they would say, this too shall pass. I've seen worse and I managed through it. That's the self-talk. That's the self-talk of Captain Jill. What conversations are you having with that 5-year-old child within you? It is huge. It plays a huge role in your ability to deal with the trauma of the past, the trauma that you're dealing with right now, and the trauma that is to come in the future. And trust me, there is trauma out there coming. For example, that H word is one I've taken out of my vocab, but I hate when this happens to me. Hate is one of the most horrible emotions that you could have passing through your system. And if you're talking to that child within and you're saying things like, I hate when this happens to me, every time you use that word and it happens to you again, what do you think that child within you will be working on? You better give that child something good to work on that's going to work in your benefit. For the same horrible event that's in front of you, Captain Jill would look at it and say, wow, that's different. I've never seen that. What lesson can I learn from this? It's a whole different question. For example, Jack would be saying, for challenges up ahead, I don't know what to do. Get words like that out of your vocab. There's that 5-year-old listening to you. I don't know, no. Again, don't know what your religious thing is, but if you have something bigger beside you that works with you, that's all great and powerful. It's not a matter of you don't know, it's a matter of, it's not consciously there right now. You need to tap in. So don't feed the 5-year-old phrases like, I don't know. No, get rid of phrases like that out of your spoken vocab. Pause, think, work on it, see if you could go find an answer. The bottom one says, this crap is driving me crazy. Well, you know what I mean, Neville. Yeah, I might know what you mean. However, your subconscious mind takes your words literal. You are the 5-star general. Your subconscious mind is the little private, and they're going to try and keep up with you. So what meaning will I assign to this event? Herein lies the power of what new traumatic events can do. The bounce in resilience is in this assignment of meaning. Be it traumatic or ecstatic, the process is the same. A dozen long stem roses can be ecstatic for Jill, and the same dozen red yellow roses could have a traumatic moment for Jane. Two people going through the same experiences coming out with two completely different outcomes. Again, normally for us to get into that place, it takes great emotions. So for Jill could have this ecstatic moment with a dozen long stem roses. From here on, anytime she sees long stem roses, oh, she melts and she smiles. Depending on how she manages that process, she could take it to the place where seeing a yellow dandelion on a lawn could make Jill smile. Jane, on the other hand, could have a traumatic experience with these long stem roses. And for her, she could take that experience again to a place where dandelions could bring tears to her eyes. So you could have tears, Jane crying tears of sorrow, and Jill crying tears of joy over dandelions, ladies and gentlemen. I don't make the process, I'm just sharing it with you. What you need to know is that either the process is going to serve you or you going to serve the process. So here we say things and events have absolutely no meaning whatsoever until we assign one to them. After that, they take on a life of their own. Neville B. Repeat. Things and events have absolutely no meaning whatsoever until we assign one to them. After that, they take on a life of their own. What is the power of meaning? We are the ones who assign it. Um, so trauma leads, the question is, do we follow? What is advertisements? It's repetition. That's how we deal with this child within us. Repetition from the words that leave her mouth. There's an entertainer who does not drink Pepsi, loved by all around, well, many around the world. He did a commercial for Pepsi Cola. He is so loved, etc. So here it is, he's bringing the emotions and associating with Pepsi. Pepsi production across the world could barely keep up with the new demand for Pepsi. Over what, ladies and gentlemen? Over a young man advertising Pepsi. And by the way, he doesn't even drink Pepsi, but he's advertising it. And you and I can't get enough. Now, if you ask me, or you, the members of the audience, were you one of those who start drinking more Pepsi because of the commercial? I know I'd tell you no. But if you ask Pepsi Cola Corporation, they will tell you otherwise, because we could not get enough Pepsi. Repetition. The ball is in our court. When I think of my childhood days when we had to learn nursery rhyme, we had to learn about Little Miss Muffet. There she is on the bottom right. Oh, Little Miss Muffet, she sat on a tuffet eating her curds and whey. I didn't even know what curds and whey were. Along came a spider and sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away. Now, can we be repeating this thing over and over again and it has no effect on us? Still barely knew what a tuffet was that Miss Muffet was sitting on. But all the girls in my class were afraid of spiders. Did it have something to do with the nursery rhyme? Maybe. Does the repetition and the emotions that go with it have something to do with it? Continuing. The first assignment of meaning. Traumatic and ecstatic process records the same. The first assignment rules for most of our lives. If that's the case, where do we get our first assignments from, ladies and gentlemen? The vast majority of emotions that we locked on came from our childhood. Who was feeding you these things as a child? If you grew up in a home where there's lots of love and care for people and animals and the world and sharing and giving, if that's what you grew up with as a child, chances are that's what you're locked in with. If you grew up in a world of mean and selfishness and lack of tolerance for other people and differences and all of that, if that's what you grew up with as a child, chances are that's what you could become as an adult. I don't make the rules. But what happened is, as a child, you form an emotion. You lock an emotion on things. When you lock that emotion over time, you're going to build on it. You're going to feed it, and that's how it works. So here's one who's in love and stuff, and here's one who is hate and lack of tolerance. Both will be feeding these monsters or things within themselves from age 5 onward into adulthood. That's how the process works, ladies and gentlemen, but don't take my word for it. So who's responsible for that first assignment? As a child, not so much you, it's the folks around you that is teaching you. Unfortunately, you're the one who's living with it. You're the one who has to work with it pretty much for the rest of your life. That's why I say check yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Look within yourself. What you learned as a child, is it serving you? Only you could answer that question. Does it serve your greater good? And choose wisely. Because either it will serve you or you will be serving it, but somebody and something will be served. The rules of the game. When we know the rules of the game, our chances of winning improves tenfold. Practice, and it's 1,000-fold. Neville B. I say, when we know the rules of the game, our chance of winning improves tenfold. If we practice, it improves 1,000-fold. Now, do you have to use the rules of the game? No. Do you have to know the rules of the game? No. Do you have to use them? You don't have to use them. You don't have to ignore them. You don't have to abuse them. Life is about choices. However, the bottom line is still the same, with or without you. When we know the rules of the game, our chances of winning improves tenfold. Let's talk about a life with a purpose and then how it helps to have a life with a purpose. So who am I right now? If I am what I am, then today I am what I have become. My life can remain that way and I could get more of the same, or I can choose to learn how to be the way that I would like to be. Level B. If I am what I am, then today I am what I have become. My life can remain that way and I could get more of the same, or I can choose to learn how to be the way I'd like to be. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a trajectory. We're heading in some direction. It's 360 degrees. We're going somewhere. Some too fast, some too slow, some not fast enough, and so on. It is your job to check yourself. See how consistent it is with who you are, where you are, what you'd like to do, and so on. Does your life have a central purpose? And if you do, what is the source? Where did it come from? Is it yours? Yeah, your life has a central purpose, but where did it come from? Did it come from your parents? Did it come from your religion? Did it get it from politicians, your job, your spouse, your organization? Check yourself, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't, heaven knows where you could be ending up. You have people who will take their entire family to some remote forest somewhere, some corner of the earth, because they want to save these spotted owls and the removal of trees, and they will sacrifice their entire family to save these spotted owls. Is that a good thing? It depends on who you ask. You have people who, with lack of tolerance, people who have plenty and don't want to share, and they will go through great lengths to make it difficult for others. Is that okay? It's not for me to say. You are the one who has to check yourself. What have you bought into? What is it that is guiding you on the path that you're on? Check it for consistency that you're on the right path. Let it be the guiding light for your ship at sea. Are you guiding the ship, or are you doing fellowship? If you do not have a central purpose for your life and you're out there at sea, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, if your ship is out at sea without a rudder, then you're at the mercy of the winds. The winds blow to the right, there you go, and it blows to the left. You're at the mercy of what's going on. If you have no central purpose for your life, somebody is going to choose one for you. And the chances are it's not necessarily in your best interest. Another way of checking on yourself right now is to check your habits. Look into your habits. What are your 10 big habits that you have right now? Are they serving you, or are you serving them? It's a pretty good indicator of who's in charge of that ship of yours. So we're talking about fellowship. When you follow the masses, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the M in masses is silent. I say it again. Sometimes the M in masses is silent and you're off running, following the masses and not realizing the M is silent. Did I say you should not follow the masses? No. What I'm saying is that you should check yourself. Check for consistency with you, your thoughts, your desires, your goals, that 5-year-old child within you. And when you have a central purpose for your life, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, what you're doing from day to day, you're practicing the alignment of the rider and the elephant, the 5-year-old, the subconscious, to have your thoughts, words, deeds are consistent with you and where you're going. Your mouth isn't saying one thing on the right and you're doing another on the left. No, that's confusing for that 5-year-old. So hope is the sail to catch the wind. Faith is the wind that fills the sail. You are the captain of that ship at sea. Faith is something greater than you, and so on. And boy, does the time goes by. Communication. We are social beings. Communication plays a huge role in what we do. Relationships, inclusions, connectedness, and family. This is where it all comes together. It takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah, you did write the phone number down here.
Pardon me?
Oh.
Oh. The science of psychology for generations shows the importance of association. There could be voices, ladies and gentlemen, new voices that comes along that tells you, if we're divided, we're stronger. Should you listen? Yes, you should listen. But don't just take it and run. Listen and check it out and make sure it's consistent with where you're going, what you have learned, etc. Back when the world was flat, there was a new voice saying that the world is round. Should they have been listening to this voice? They almost string him up on the stake. Here we are, the whole world believes it's flat, and you're here talking about the world is round. People who come with major changes are not necessarily welcome. They will put you on a cross. They will tie you up. They will burn you. They will stone you to death, and so on. We keep moving here. If relationships is where it comes together, then how important is our communication? What are the rules? Whose job is it to teach us all these things? Relationship starts with self. Who and what are you communicating with on the inside? How consistent are you? Do you enjoy your own company? Do you get bored with your own company? Do you know the child within you? Can you hear yourself? How well do you calibrate for course correction between you and the child? Your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your desire. What you want for your family, is that what you're doing with other people's family? Are your words consistent? Are you using the golden rule, the platinum rule? What are you using? How effective is your communication? When you enter a room, does the room get lighter? Does it get brighter? Or do you suck up the energy in the room? Communication is important for you, the child within, the people around you, those you love, the strangers, and those who you don't even care for. It is a factor in how you will also be dealing with the trauma that comes in your life. It is a factor of how you navigate and bounce back on the way back after you have been through a traumatic moment. What is your communication like? Is it win-lose, lose-win, etc.? What is the aura around you most of the times? We have a song by one of my great teachers here, Mr. Marley. He says, if you get down and you quarrel every day, you're saying prayers to the devils, I say. Why not help one another on the way and make it much easier? Just a little bit easier. Communication, ladies and gentlemen. You can't be quarreling and fussing every day and think it has no effect on you. It does. It is stressful. We move on. So again, I'm saying check yourself. You need to be checking yourself on a regular basis for consistency. Your dominant beliefs and trauma interpretations, what are they? Sit your little tail down and work on them, because some of those beliefs that you're holding right now, they're not serving you. You end up serving them. Your beliefs could be most liberating, and they could also be a restraint. Are they serving you, or are you serving them? Kenny Rogers talks about, you got to know when to hold them, you got to know when to fold them, you got to know when to walk away, and yes, ladies and gentlemen, you got to know when to run. What are you holding on to? So, did I say you should change your beliefs? No. What I'm saying is you should check them for consistency with your thoughts, words, deeds, desires, etc. So let's talk about guiding the giant within. The most two powerful words that could ever leave those beautiful two lips of yours are, I am. When you're motivating little ones like your children, etc., the best and the worst words that could ever leave those two lips of yours again are, you are. Why? These are like magic words that talks directly. You're not going around a corner or talking through a wall. You're talking directly to that child within, that giant within, that subconscious mind of yours. You're going direct. When you say, I am, it doesn't matter what comes after that. That 5-year-old is perked right up, listening to every word that comes from you, the general, them there to carry out your command. Acknowledging your reality is one thing. I'm a morning person. Get over it. I am not saying your reality is that you're not a morning person. Yes, you're more perky in the morning and drowsy in the afternoon and all that. I'm not questioning that. I'm talking about the conversation with the 5-year-old within you. Every time you say, I'm a morning person, what do you think you're doing? You are locking yourself in, because that's how the cycle works. You feed it and you feed it and you feed it. And now you're locked in and you wonder, how did I get into this place? You are. Repeating that reality can lock us in. They can be jailers, they can be liberators. Focus your thoughts on where you would like to go is good. Verbalizing, affirming is even better. Visualizing it, as you learn the art of visualization, is even greater. Calling on a greater source, as our religious folks do. That's out there to help is near best. Claiming that it is so is priceless, ladies and gentlemen. That's a whole different day and time. I'd love to come by and share with you some of this. This is how we take back the power from that 5-year-old child and guide it how we, the writer, would like to move. A morning mantra, a prayer, an affirmation saying, I am healthy, wealthy, wise, and loved. Doing what's in my best overall long-term interest and getting better and better every day. If you're saying things like this day in, day out, you wake in the morning, you say it. You go to bed in the afternoon, you say it. Lunchtime, you say a prayer just before you eat and so on. Whatever, mantra, a meditation, call it what you may. If those are the words you're repeating day after day, that 5-year-old child within you will step right up and try to make it so. Practice, repeat. Be it thoughts, words, songs, prayers, mantra, whatever we repeat over and over again as time goes by, we are moving closer to it. Never be, I'll say it again. Be it thoughts, words, songs, prayers, or mantra, whatever we repeat over and over again as time goes by, we are moving closer to it. The thing, ladies and gentlemen, to do is to plant seeds, remove weeds, enjoy the flowers. And if you think advertisement does not work, you have a lot to learn. It works. It works very well for the 5-year-old. There's a reason why someone would pay $3 million to advertise a drink during a major football game. They're not doing it for the fun of it. They're not doing it to entertain you. They're doing it to have an effect on you. Advertisement works. And it's the same thing with that 5-year-old within you. How do you advertise to the 5-year-old? By the words that leave your mouth. Continuing. Minimizing your utterance of limiting and absolute words. How am I doing on timing? Yeah, minimizing your use of limiting and absolute words. Words like I must. No, that child within you don't handle words like that too good. Get rid of them. Minimize your use of them. Find better words and use. For example, if you say I must, that child within you is marching to your must orders. You need your orders to be crystal clear. I always, no, you don't always nothing. Those are absolute words. Minimize your use if you can. I never, that child within you will show that you're a liar when you say I never. It's not never, really. I have to. Do you have to? No. Life is full of choices, ladies and gentlemen. You want to be talking accurately to that 5-year-old because that subconscious mind of yours has no no sense of humor. It is a good soldier, and a good soldier follows orders. Whose orders? You. You, the writer. You, the one talking to the elephant. You, the one working with this 5-year-old that you've been with from a child until now. Yes, it follows your orders. And that H word, that's my first word that I choose to remove from my vocab. However, I will share it with you. I think it's such a horrible word that stirs up such negative energies. I hate when so-and-so happens. Oh, gosh. Even saying it here right now hurts. If you're saying you hate when so-and-so happens, whatever that so-and-so is, what do you think every time you do it? What do you think is happening to you? you're going to hate it more and more and more. I don't make the process. I'm only here sharing with you how the process works. I get angry when? No, you're preparing yourself. You're teaching yourself how to get angry. There are many love songs about if you should leave me, I will die and stuff like that. Oh gosh. If you're saying things like that over and over, singing them over, what do you think you're doing? You're practicing. What happens when love comes to an end? Does love come to an end? Yes, it does happen for many of us. You cannot be practicing that with your 5-year-old and then when love comes to an end, you wonder why you want to jump on a bridge. Why? You've been practicing it. You've been mastering it. Watch what you talk and what you say. And then there's this one with the pet peeve. Oh, my pet peeve is so-and-so. People say it with such pride. I want to slap it out of you. It's not a pet peeve. It's a monster. What do you think happened with pet peeves, ladies and gentlemen, as you feed that 5-year-old? Over time, it grows and it grows and it gets to the point it becomes unmanageable. You don't need pet peeves in your life. Get rid of them. Advertisement works. Trauma gives birth to new convictions, and for some, it's worth dying for. Jack had a miserable, unhappy life. He has now joined an organization. The organization has given him a sense of purpose, and now he has sacrificed his life helping this organization to make more money, and he is a happy man. Is that okay for Jack? Ladies and gentlemen, it's not for you and me to say. Jack was miserable, and now Jack is happy. And if you ever dare question Jack about Jack, come back home to your family, Jack will tell you where to go and never come back home. Overnight, Jack has a newfound friend, family, whatever it is. However, I still say for Jack, if Jack was questioning himself, is this in my best long-term interest? Does this align with me and who I am? He might be getting some yeses, he might be getting some no's, but it's still back on Jack for him to be checking to see where this is going. After a horrible breakup, Tim got hardened. And Tim says, never again will I love. Nobody will ever get a chance to do that to me. Is that okay? Not for you and I to say. After a horrible breakup, Jill got soft, and all you have to do is tap Jill and the legs open. Come on. Is that okay? It's not for me to say. Trauma can have a horrible effect on us if we do not manage it. There's a lady in Chicago who went through a most traumatic experience, the type that ruins lives, the type that puts people in such a spiral that they never return. Talk about trauma, yes. This woman in Chicago is now one of the richest women in America. Did I say that trauma made her rich? No. What I'm saying is the path that you take as you deal with your trauma has a lot to do with you. What are you going in with? What do you do while you're there? And how do you manage while you're bouncing back out of it? Sue had an ecstatic or traumatic experience at her initiation. Ladies and gentlemen, these overnight changes that we're talking about that trauma could take us through 9 out of 10 times, there are 2 pieces to it. There is extreme pain or extreme sorrow. We'll get some more into that. Joe provides services and Tom sells goods that often destroy families, and yet both of these people are loved and admired and respected in their communities. I just told you that they destroy families. Destroy, devastate, break them up, mess them up. And yet, Joe and Tom are both loved and admired and respected in our community. Is this leadership? Is this fellowship? It's not for me to say. But I will say, for you who are listening to me today, check yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Look for consistency. Look at the palm tree in the top right. Did it bend during the hurricane? Yes. They know. When the hurricane comes, standing up straight and stiff won't cut it. You bend and deal with what's ahead of you. Knowing the right thing and doing the right thing are 2 completely different things. Never be. I say it again. Knowing the right thing and doing the right thing are two completely different things. One of my great teacher of mine says, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Can we stand in the middle of a river and be thirsty, ladies and gentlemen? Yes. It depends on where you are looking, how you're thinking, what your thoughts are, and so on. There's a person who could have great health, great wealth, good family, food, shelter, a great job, people who love them, a great sex life, safety, more, and all of that. And this person could be the most unhappy and miserable person out there. What is it that brings us joy? The greatest things or the greatest gifts in life are probably free. But if you go looking for them in the wrong places, then heaven knows what you come back up with. Moving on, taking back the power. When we can accept a compliment with a simple smile and a thank you, that's how you know you're taking back the power. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be more than happy to come share with you some of the methods for you to take back the control from what you have lost. When you become independent of people's validation of you, that's a beautiful sign. You don't need compliments. You don't need people to tell you how sweet and beautiful and nice you look today, and I like that thing you're wearing and the new bag and the no. When you are independent of all of that, it's a beautiful thing, because you're finding you have tapped into the fountain of joy. And if you think like the vast majority of people at the fountain of joy is out there, you better think again. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. When you have learned to show great respect for those who have nothing, when you have tolerance, when you're willing, when you're kind, you're sheer, it's a whole different thing going on here. When you can accept an insult with a simple smile and thanks, your opinion have been noted, and continue talking as if it doesn't matter. When you could do this without a feather on your back ruffled as you remain calm. When you could forgive those who trespass against you and just let it go and move on. I'm not saying to turn the other cheek. I'm saying you work with the process. When you learn to return kindness to the meanest of soul out there, that's an indicator of you taking over. Synchronicity. The human body has multiple systems synchronizing towards the common good of our life. This body of ours is miracles on top of miracles on top of miracles, all working together for the same, for the good of you being alive and well. That's the body doing its thing. There are things that we could do also to help and assist, and it's in our best interest to do that. Our job also, when it comes to trauma and stress and management of mental health, our job is to synchronize our thoughts, desires, and world plans, actions, and habit towards a joyful life with a central purpose. That's my opinion of what we are supposed to be doing. Have faith, be optimistic, expect miracles to unfold, showers of blessing, prepare for their coming, and experience the world conspiring to your humility. Avoid, minimize, prepare for common storms, sharks, emotional temptations, the hypocrites that are out there, the power mongers, the systems and self-serving organizations. It is a full-time job, ladies and gentlemen, from birth going back to the earth. Did we come from the earth? That's a different conversation, a different time. Well, we came from between the legs of a beautiful person we call mother. And when it's all over, we're going back for the most part to the earth somewhere there. But check yourself. What's happening between then and now is our job. So before we need resilience, looking at the time here, yes, before we need resilience, we can work hard and save the people drowning in the river. That's working hard. Working smarter is sending someone upriver to go understand how on earth are people getting into the river. My mom used to talk about an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So in sending someone upriver, are they prepared to approach the folks who are throwing people into the river? How are your negotiating skills? Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he has a rule there. It says rule number 5. He says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. I just love that rule. Beautiful. My earlier years were the opposite of that. I would make sure you understand what I'm saying. But the humbling approach that we're talking about here in rule number 5 works magic. How are your communication skills? How prepared were you before trauma comes? When do you prepare for trauma? Do you wait until it hits? Why were they throwing people in the river in the first place? Many questions, many answers. Ladies and gentlemen, there's an old African proverb that talks about eating elephants. How do you eat an elephant? Ha! You eat an elephant one bite at a time. In checking with the 5-year-old and the balance of the whole process, do you have that central sense of purpose, that North Star that guides you, that allows you to practice having your thoughts, words, and deeds going in the same place? If you know someone who has a great education, great job, getting paid well, and they say you don't need great education, you need to be checking yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Check the story. Did I say dismiss it? No. No, listen and check it in. If this person is earning a great income and then turn around and tell you that if they were to raise your measly pittance that you earn by a few more cents, it's going to be bad for the economy. It's going to cause inflation. Is it so? Maybe. Check your sources, ladies and gentlemen. It's okay to hear different things from different people. If someone has the greatest insurance that money could buy, that covers them even when they're dead and gone, their dog and cats are even covered, and that person with this great insurance for themselves and their family look you in the eye and say, you don't need insurance. Is that okay? Maybe. I say listen, but check yourself for consistency between yourself and the world that's out there. Do you need love? Ha! Some people think they don't. As Tina says, what does love have to do with it? For those who tell you don't need it, check. It's a strange world that we're living in out there. Talk about harnessing the power. How does it work? We have a cycle, ladies and gentlemen. We all have a cycle that takes us from where we are to when we literally pop. Do you know the cycle? Do you understand that cycle? Do you know how to interrupt that cycle? Because between the start of the cycle to when it actually blows and puts you into that major traumatic experience, that cycle can be broken in many different places. Sometimes. Did I say your trauma is like that? No, I can't say that. I don't know what you have been through. There's all different types of trauma. But it's for us to understand. The bottom line is still the same. When trauma comes, when that hurricane comes, when you fall off that horse, there are quite a few approaches. Which one are you using, and is it going to work for you, and is it in your best long-term interest? Those are some of the questions that we need to be asking. Let me just skip through this here. Using these things as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. There's just so much more to share with you, ladies and gentlemen. I would be happy to come by you and do more of what I'm doing here. Better yet, I'd be happy to share with you how to break some of those habits, how to be more consistent with your thoughts and deeds, not just starting with the New Year's resolution and then quitting in 3 months, and how to break some of those horrible things that we got as children. And now we're living with them, how to break out of it. So let's talk about stepping stones. When we learn the art of lighting a match under our own little tails, that's a good thing. How do we motivate ourselves? When we learn to change our habits, to have the habits serve us instead of we serving them, oh, how sweet. When we practice to check ourselves for alignment, for purpose, hope, faith, desires, great stuff. When we consistently take actions based on the above, where it all comes together, that's how we learn to bathe in the joy of life. Managing trauma, a vastly traumatic event for one person, can be more a mere teaching event for another. The way we respond to drama can be enabling and also disabling. We may not control our life events, however, the tools that we will use to shape the outcome is on us. Our tools may be generational. Yes, we may have gotten some good stuff from those people we call parents. We may have had some horrible things too from them. And that's okay. Your job is to be checking. Are they serving you? Or are you serving them? And again, telling you what you already know, you cannot be planting peas, ladies and gentlemen, and expect to reap corn. My beliefs and habits and spoken words are commands to the subconscious mind that has no sense of humor. It is an exceptional good follower of its master. You make sure you're giving it good commands and good instructions. The joy in my life today reflects the absence of stress, blah, 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 and this. I think we have room for a few questions here. Let me see how I stop sharing screen.
Or you could leave it up, Neville, actually, if you like. Oh, too late. It's okay. But actually, if you could pull up your PowerPoint again, one of the questions was around showing one of the slides again. Would you mind pulling it back up?
Okay. Oh,
they wanted to see the hope is in the wind, is the wind in the sail slide.
Okay. Are you seeing my thing now?
Not yet.
Oh, because I stopped sharing. Hold on.
Yeah, you've got to go to the bottom and share your screen again.
It's not letting me out. Let me hit escape. Okay. Now where's my Zoom? Oh boy. I love technology when it works. Okay.
Don't we all?
Share screen. I did say when it works. Share screen. I hit this. Am I sharing now?
Yeah, just pull up that PowerPoint if you don't mind.
Okay, now let's go to the PowerPoint. Boom. So
awesome.
I need to go back.
Yes, if you could pull up that wind in your sail slide, somebody wanted to take a closer look at that.
I'm going back. You tell me when. That's the one with the faith or something?
Yeah, it should be.
That one.
Right. Yes. Awesome.
Hope is the sail to catch the wind. Faith is the wind to fill the sail. And you are the captain of this ship at sea. So we turn it over for questions, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hit a few.
We actually had a comment that I was going to share. So this person said that this is very much like the law of attraction. What we put out is what we get back, except it's within us. What we put out will give us back. No, what we put out, we give ourselves back, or we seek it out.
That's a huge part of it. But as you notice, my focus a lot here is on that 5-year-old child within.
Yep.
A lot of my focus is what were we taught as children, because what we were taught that is good or bad, etc., we lock in on that crap. In some cases it's good, in some cases it's not. And these are the people who we love and who love us. Do they mean harm? No. But that's what they gave us. And unfortunately, as children, we lock in. If someone teach you that spiders are horrible, I'm sorry for you. Chances are that's it. You are locked in and you live with that for the rest of your life. There are those people who learn to get around it and about it and so on. But for the most part, what we learn as children is what we live as adults.
Kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like if you put it out there and you think something's going to happen, likely is it will tend to happen, right?
And the power behind that is the conscious mind is what we work with. Consciously, we could say and do and all of that. But in reality, in the long run, it's not our conscious mind. That's that's demanding or making things work. It's that subconscious. It's that child
Right.
within you. What were you told as a child? All a parent has to say is, you're gonna be just like your no good father. How many times do you think a parent has to say that to plant that seed? Once. That's why I say those words "you are" so powerful. I mean, parents saying one time with high emotions, and if you get a little spanking to go with it too, you're gonna be just like your no good father or your no good mother. That seed is planted, and that poor little child is gonna nurture that seed over and over and over again into a life that was planted as a child. That's why I'm
Neville,
talking
folks,
about. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Folks were just asking if you could share your contact info again on that slide. I think the last slide had your contact info before we sign off.
Mhm.
That way folks can get a good look at that in case they want to reach out.
Mhm. Here is that is my personal, but let me give you my work. And by the way, I welcome phone calls. I'm much better at phone calls than I am at emails. nmorris@ccsi.org. That's my work. I tend to see that much faster than how I see my personal emails.
Great.
And the phone,
Great, thanks.
I'm much better with phone, ladies and gentlemen. Way better with phone.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to stop us because we're just a minute over time.
No.
Encourage folks to, I know. Thank you so much, Neville. We really appreciate you being with us today. Folks, we've got another round of workshops coming up, and then we have our annual meeting at 4 o'clock. And then we also have an evening full of some really cool stuff. So make sure you just take a look at your program, and we'll see you in the next room. Thanks so much, Neville. Take care. Take care, everyone.
Before you
go ahead.
Before you go, Lenora's on the next one. How do I get to see that?
So you'll go back to your program,